Here we go, continuing the great ride that we're on. Okay, moving on from schedule management to cost management. They are related. Many of the inputs, tools, and outputs are exactly the same. The advantage is cost management only has 4 processes associated with it, not the many that were in schedule management. So, let's jump right into it. This is a slide of your objectives. Take time to pause and review that. So cost management. Okay, first and foremost, I'm all about definitions because we need to know the language. So, project cost management is the process of planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, managing, and controlling costs so the project can be completed in the approved budget. There's nothing there that shouldn't make sense because the spirit of project management is all about control in predictive project management, which is what the certification exams in this course is all about. I remember that by estimating, budgeting, and controlling the approved budget. This is what I'm looking for. I'm going to plan, estimate, budget, fund and finance, manage, control. And it's all about that approved budget, that baseline. One thing that surprised me was fund and finance. Though largely my work as a project manager has been in government, it's been in contracting, it's been in a small business, it's been in academia, and it's been now at a major corporation, one of the top 50 companies in America. I've never had to fund and finance, but it is possible. So just realize, you as a project manager may be responsible with your cost management experts, the subject matter experts, that expert judgment we always talk about, to make sure the bills are paid. Just one more of the meetings you'll have. The contractors are paid on time, that there's money in the account, that you've raised money. Remember we talked about EEFs, enterprise environmental factors, and what are market conditions? What if I'm selling bonds to fund my project and interest rates drop? That isn't going to help my budget very much because I was depending on a certain interest rate. And we go back to that one output, which will be the basis of the estimate. And I would go back there, that output, and say, what was I thinking? What was the rationale behind this interest rate that we're using? And how does it apply now? So there we are. Here are the 4 processes. We're going to plan cost management, which is still how I'm going to do costing. We're going to estimate cost, determine the budget, which is going to give me my baseline. And I'm always about control costs. Okay, so let's jump into it. There are, at the beginning of every chapter, of course, key concepts, trends, and tailoring. Key concepts are listed here and covered in the PMBOK guide fairly clearly. The trends we will talk about in cost management, earned value management, EVM. And now then, the trend is to include a term called earned schedules. So I used to say schedule variance, and I still use that term. The PMBOK guide is still using that term for the exam, but I want you to understand that in the trends in the world out there, that earned schedule is beginning to take its place, but the formulas are the same. I don't think you need to know the formulas for the exam, certainly not for my exam. You do need to know the other formulas, the regular formulas I'll cover in a few minutes. But these you do not need to know. Just be aware that schedule variance in some industries is being replaced with the term earned schedules. Okay? And then there are some tailoring considerations also covered in the PMBOK guide. So we're going to begin with plan cost management. And I just want to take a moment to say, hey, people, friends, partners, comrades, we've been talking about cost since the beginning, even though I've rarely used that term. Think about it. In the charter, which is a high-level document, you had a rough order of magnitude budget. Boss says, hey, in the charter we'll list $798,000. It's as high as I can go for the project budget. And it's provided you a constraint already, or a ceiling is likely what they gave you. Then in scope management, we talked about requirements. And in the work breakdown structure, we talked about control accounts. Control accounts are the numbers you add to the work packages so you can aggregate things back up. And those largely are about cost management. In the military, on orders, whenever we were assigned to a contingency that was funded by Congress with extra money, the orders would always have an ESP code. I forget what it stands for, but frankly, it was their system for a control account to document the budget that went towards that portion of the military operation. Then in time management, we did the schedule. Actually, it's schedule management now. And we talked about resources, and that takes money. And we'll talk about that again in human resources, in resource management also. So finally, we're here to cost management. We're looking for a budget. And the budget is all about labor rates and equipment rates and things like that. So we've been talking about cost management for a long time, as we've been talking about the iron triangle. Which is earned value, actual costs in the bottom left, and planned value in the bottom right. Earned value is just taking scope and translating it into dollars. We're going to do that later. Actual cost is just taking the budget and saying, how much did we actually really spend? And planned value is the schedule. What was the plan? And so to do that, we are going to plan cost management, which is going to define, again, how we estimate, budget, and control costs. A shortened version of the definition of cost management that we just discussed. So the inputs, again, just like schedule management. The project plan, which is the project charter, and I think I have those reversed. The project plan should have schedule and risk, and the project charter is high level. So please make a note of that. And then, of course, EEFs and OPAs. Now, for tools and techniques, expert judgment. But this case, I'm thinking of somebody that's an expert in earned value management, in actual costs, planned value, and earned value, things like that. I can do data analysis, which again revolves around alternatives analysis, and funding options. So funding options is kind of new in data analysis, related really only to cost management. And then meeting. Now my output is my just a single output, my cost management plan. So think of it. The name of the process is called Plan Cost Management. What's my output? My cost management plan. And that output is going to apply as inputs to many of the following processes. Remember, the outputs of one become often the inputs of the next. Okay? And it's going to define my methodology. We said all of these management plans were a methodology, and it's a subsidiary plan because it's sub to the overall project management plan. We also said it's a constraint. So my cost management plan is going to become now a constraint on my overall project and all the other knowledge areas. It's going to give me some control thresholds and some rules of enforcement. What are my reporting formats? So in reporting formats, well, if it's a global project, do I want to report in dollars or in euros by some day of the week? What is the currency transition rate? Things like that. You will address that in the cost management plan. Okay, let's take a break.